Welcome audience, welcome to Viewpoint for Overseas with Sabahat Ashraf, aka Faqir, Faraz Darvesh, Dr. Mirza Azam. Welcome gentlemen. This week, one of the biggest things in the news has been Jamal Khashoggi and the Saudi regime. For years now, we've all been discussing the Saudi regime, what its effect is in our lives, frankly, as Americans, as Pakistanis, all over the world, and what goes on in the kingdom itself, and what the kingdom is doing, especially in the last few years, to carry its weight across the region. But suddenly, the murder of or death of one specific Saudi journalist in Istanbul, supposedly a brotherly Muslim country, has hit and affected people like nothing else has. In this regard, I would like you, Dr. Mirza, to give us a little bit of a background on who Jamal Khashoggi is, because the last name, to those of us who remember even American politics, the Khashoggi name is relevant. We remember it. There is a history here, and Jamal Khashoggi was someone from the elite. Enlighten us.
Thank you very much, Sabahat. Jamal, his family is interesting that his grandfather was a personal doctor of King Saud, who is the founder of Saudi Arabia, Mr. Mohammad Khashoggi. He was a Turkish origin. Right. He married to a Saudi wife, a Saudi woman, and one of his son was the famous Adnan Khashoggi, $4 billion arm dealer, Iran-Contra. We, as an American, we all know that.
Of the Iran-Contra.
Involvement in that. Mm-hmm. His other son is Jamal Khashoggi. Then he has a sister.
The other son's son.
Yeah. Then Adnan Khashoggi's sister's son was the famous Dodi Fayyad.
Was married into the Fayyad family, and she was the mother of Dodi Fayyad.
Dodi Fayyad. So Jamal Khashoggi was initially he was in Al Arab TV channel. He was a managing director or general manager of there, and he's also the chief editor for Al Watan. And he was kicked out from Al Watan. This is a Saudi daily.
What is Al Watan?
It's a Saudi daily.
Okay.
And he was kicked out from there just within 2 months or something, because he had somebody talked about that famous Wahhabi, Al-Tamayya's Ibn Taymiyyah. Thank you very much. Somebody wrote article about him, so he was fired.
And Ibn Taymiyyah is called to be the founder of Wahhabism.
Well, Taymiyyah is a precursor.
It is a
historical
13th
figure.
century.
And by the way, I was talking to another religious scholar. Ibn Taymiyyah laid down some principles under which people can challenge traditional Islamic thought. So he's used by other people as well, but the Wahhabis particularly
So he spoke
him
against Wahhabis.
He allowed
Jamal Khashoggi.
He allowed his columnists to write against
he published
against Wahhabis.
Against Wahhabis in Al Watan. So after he was out from there, he went to England on a self-exile, and later on he came back. And he become...
he came back to Saudi Arabia?
He become Al Watan again. He was hired in 1995. He was hired by the Saudi intelligence because he had a very good relations with Osama bin Laden also. So of course he had an internal relation with the Saudi establishment.
Osama bin Laden was also from the same circle of friends.
That's correct.
Very generationally, these guys, if everyone from Mohammed bin Sultan to Jamal Khashoggi to Osama bin Laden are all children of the elite, right?
That's true. And the Saudi intelligence hired him to persuade Osama bin Laden to quit jihad
Oh, wow.
and join the Saudi royal family. I mean,
Right,
you know,
basically get with the program.
yes, compromise, make a compromise. He was not successful, as we all know. And then what happens that when he went back to Al Watan in 2007.
So he moved back to Saudi Arabia, or was he working out of Britain?
That part I am not sure. He
Anyway,
moved there,
but he was back
but
in the fold.
he was back in the Al Watan, and then he was fired from there. Although they say that he wanted to take a early retirement or something for pursuing the new career, but of course it was a forced resignation because he allowed one of the poet to write against Wahhabism, Salafism,
Right.
you know. So that's what he was doing, and then he came to US last year. He became a US resident, and he was very famous in the media. And in London, he formed a political party, and with the name of the Democracy for Arab World. And now this is his political party, where he talks about taking Saudi Arabia back to pre-1979 Saudi Arabian laws, which are less stringent in the Wahhabism. Before that, Abdullah Qahtani's and their incident.
Basically, the assault on Makkah.
That's correct. Yeah. So basically, that is his brief background, and you can see it. He was very big critic of Israel. He was very big critic of the Saudi invasion in Iran, in Houthis, in Yemen, and he's a big critic of King of Saudi Arabia, King Salman, and his son, Mr. MBS. So there are a lot of things there, and we can talk about it more. That was he that much of a threat? But interestingly, he had 2 million followers on the Twitter.
Yeah. See, so the point there that has to be pointed out, some people have been wondering why this one journalist, A, B, oh, he was from the elite, and other people are saying, oh, don't point that out, why you focused on him being elite when actually he had paid his dues. Apparently he'd worked hard on these issues. But so Faraz, let's get you to discuss that. Why now? Why Jamal Khashoggi? Why would Saudi Arabia go after him specifically? And why are we all suddenly more affected by this one incident?
Yeah, so I mean, this is pretty interesting. See, I'm not able to figure out that why did they do it in Saudi Consulate. They could have gone out and killed him on the street of Turkey or somewhere else or in his apartment, but this happened in Saudi Consulate, and they could have, had they killed him on his street or in his apartment, they could have easily put the blame on Iran, Hezbollah and Houthis, but that didn't happen. They killed him in the consulate. So what was he going to reveal? Did they have a threat? Did he have any inside information? If you look at all his talks in Washington and elsewhere in the think tank across the globe, he speaks against Mohammed bin Sultan. He speaks against
Salman.
Mohammed bin Salman, right?
Yeah, MBS.
MBS, that's what
MBS. We should
Mohammed bin
stick.
Salman and the royal family, but he's not a radical. He doesn't speak against them radically. I mean, he has differences on some of the policies they have, but he doesn't go out and say that Saudi family is. He doesn't take any harsh stand against Saudi Arabia. So that's one thing. So I have not seen him taking any harsh stand against the royal family. I don't know what caused Saudi Arabia to kill him in the consulate, and I think that has to be figured out. But I think one thing which I can't figure out, that now the entire world is speaking for Jamal Khashoggi. Well, Saudi Arabia, few months back, they arrested Saad Hariri, the then Prime Minister of Lebanon, and actually he should be thankful that he wasn't cut into pieces.
Yeah.
And,
Well, we don't know yet that he was cut into pieces.
This happened. Saudi Arabia has been is on the offensive in Yemen. Yemen has collapsed. There is a famine happening in Yemen. There is a hunger, kids dying in Yemen. But anyways, so this particular incident has sparked the wave of criticism against Saudi Arabia, and I think Saudi Arabia may very well be able to come out of this. And this one cartoon that is being going around, on the social media pretty much sums up everything.
We'll get back that onto the screen. In that regard, actually, the best comment I saw was from this Canadian one expert we have in Britain called Zainab Ahmed, who basically pointed out that the issue is, it shouldn't be surprising that one person becomes the highlight, because often what it takes for people to really connect with a story is a personal or human interaction. On Yemen, what we have seen are these vague headlines of hundreds of thousands of people and, millions, as Stalin said, you kill a million people, it's a statistic. While if it's an immediate thing, and also the other aspect you'd want to think is Jamal Khashoggi, as Misbah Saab told us, comes from a family that people know, there's personal interaction.
They are very much...
It's come home. So what I would like to get into is, where are we in this train? When the Arab Spring happened, in some places it made a difference. In other places it did not. In other places it became a festering sore that is still happening, like Syria. But my question often at that point was also, when will this train get to the Hijaz? When will it come to the heartland of the Arab world, the Holy Land? And to finish, before I finish the question, because the slogan throughout was Sawra Sawra fi kull al-makan. That, revolution in all the land.
Yeah.
Are we there yet? How far is it going? What will happen? Faraz, you were...
No, so I want to throw another question. So is it, to Misbah Azam, so Dr. Saab, tell us, is it really that because he was criticizing Wahhabi monarchy, that is why he was killed? Because his criticism on the royal family was not very harsh.
Yeah, see, the thing is that he was a very high-profile journalist, right? That part, we all know that. High-profile in a sense, he had 2 million, like I say, that 2 million followers there. Then he was very much invited on US media, Western media and all that. Then I agree with you that he's not directly attacking the royal family as such, However, what he was doing is that he was attacking those, plinth of that building where this whole Saudi royal family is standing, which is Wahhabism, because after 1979, their laws were very strict, and that kind of somehow gave them more, because see, why 1979 incident happened? Because the weaknesses in their system, but after that it never happened, So of course, he is a threat to it. And if somebody will say that no, Saudi just wanted to interrogate him, so I will ask question, interrogate what? I think that the reason to kill him is exactly the thing that they wanted, the reason to get rid of him.
You can call it an interrogation, but in the end, whether they're asking questions or not, he was being tortured.
That's correct.
Something going on there, and that is why we all talk about torture being, and that's relevant to all of these. So moving on from there, let's now see if we can touch on how this affects American relations, how it affects, Saudi-American relations, Saudi Arabia's role, the longevity of the regime, and also maybe bring it back to Pakistan and see how does this play out in the Muslim world. So
it's very simple. Very simple. I think U.S. Saudi relationship nothing will be impacted. I think it's a temporary impact that we are witnessing, and I think this is already starting to improve. And I think within a week or so, Saudi is now has already fired some of their intelligence officers. This is like a face saving that they're doing. Americans will accept it because America has a heavy oil dependency on Saudi Arabia. So all of that will fade away, and Jamal Khashoggi will still be part of the history, but then Saudi relations with America will not be impacted, and everything. We are already seeing the statements in the media, and some of the analysts are already saying that it was an interrogation gone wrong, and that's it. And now when it comes to Pakistan is already heavily dependent on Saudi Arabia in terms of we are already in Yemen. Our former army chief is heading the coalition
in his personal capacity.
And now Prime Minister Imran Khan is now taking another trip to Saudi Arabia to attend the business conference. Not only that, he is looking like looking for Saudi Arabia to help Pakistan out to get some more dollars to get bail, or maybe
A bailout, basically.
A bailout. So I mean, Pakistan really has nothing to say. Pakistan will always side with Saudi Arabia, as it always has. So I don't think.
So, but
one thing is, Saudi Arabia has carried out all such operations in Pakistan as well. I mean, it's nothing
Right.
new for Saudi Arabia. It's just this time it happened to be a high-profile murder in the consulate, and that sparked the reaction.
Okay, so, but speaking of business conferences, we heard how Richard Branson pulled out of one, and there's been a lot of stuff. So, Misbah Sahib, do you agree with that? Is this another case of just the Saudis will shrug it off and move on, or is something really changing this time?
Well, if we look at the history, like there are certain times things happen, like First World War, how it started.
Right.
One, then Russians, USSR, Soviet Union taking over all countries in the world. Nobody cares. Afghanistan, when they went to Afghanistan, that picture National Geographic published on the front page, the little girl with a fear in her eye, that really shook the reaction in the Western world. I mean, so you never know. Okay, the Turkey now is saying we will never let it go under the cover up. This has to be coming out now. Knowing Mr. Erdogan, you can see, and we have to go a little bit in a history of Turkish and Arabs. Who are these Saudi family? They are the one who are hired by the Lawrence of Arabia to destroy the Turkish Empire. Which is the Ottoman Empire. And there was a time, Turkish used to say that to Arabs, that when there was any problem, they used to make a joke. One Turkish journalist told me that. She said that they say that Turkish used to tell them, why don't you pull your skirts up and do something positive? So when Bosnian issue came, Arabs did not want to get involved. They were saying the same thing. So this kind of feud going on, and this is an opportunity for non-Arabs in the Middle East to settle the scores, and Iran is going to help Turkey in that, because Iran will not let it go that easily, because this is the good thing they find out against Saudi Arabia. So I wouldn't be surprised, and I do agree with my friend Faraz, that usually if you see that would happen, and most likely that would happen, as Faraz mentioned. But I still feel that there are certain cracks around here, which where things can slip through, and it could be trouble.
If you do that, once you start the discussion of history in that region, you get back into Lawrence of Arabia, and you get into a lot of this discussion. And again, my old question
one thing I think, which is before we go to the conclusion, I mean, speaking against Wahhabism, I don't think that makes him a critic of royal family, because royal family has alliance with Wahhabism, with Wahhabi clergy, and there are lots of other journalists who have spoken against Wahhabism, particularly because Al-Qaeda to ISIS, they all practice Wahhabi ideology, which is a state religion in Saudi Arabia.
So I guess the thing to say there is you're challenging it's like in the U.S. speaking against the U.S. Constitution, or the very idea of, there is a deeper issue here.
But he was more than a journalist. He was a political activist. He's forming his own political party. And the thing is that he's getting in a very dangerous region, and of course, he's a different person.
And when it comes to threats against a certain regime, the regime's vote is
regime just overreacts.
If Saudi Arabia gets away with this easily, which, well, it's not going to be easy job, but if they get away with this, basically they have sent out a message to everyone who is looking to become a dissident, and any of the dissidents who are out there. It's a message for them in a way that, hey, we could do this in a foreign land, and we could get away with it.
We could get away with it.
Let's see how that goes. So, audience, let's wind it up here for this week. We'll be back again next week with more issues. In the meantime, as we say in Pakistan, Allah Rahm Kare, this is getting serious. This is, as Misbah Sahib said, this might even get more involved, and the Middle East will move forward. The rest of the world will follow, and we will be back next week. So hope you have a good week. Take care.